All right, we're recording episode. I think we're in the 60s now. So, Jayson, I think this is actually 60 or 61. So early on a Thursday morning, getting going with Jayson Wells. Again, appreciate your time. I did commit Jayson to at least this quarter, and hopefully we continue to do this. And as Jayson grows his business and his reach and impact, I hope he continues to stay with us as long as possible. So, Jayson, good morning. Welcome again to another week with us and an hour or so that we'll have here.
Yeah, man. Hey, George, this is the one thing that I want to commit you to. I want you to be committed to knowing exactly what podcast number.
Okay. We're just doing so many of them. I'm putting out so much content. Right, and that was actually a goal that I wrote down this year was just, more content, and I know that's a Gary Vee thing. And Gary's just talking about, hey, your personal brand, the brand of your company, the people you work with, whatever it is, just put out more and more and more. So I am trying to do that. Actually, what I'm doing with this, and I don't know if you're aware of it, I think you might be, is I am splicing up our conversations a little bit. Some of the things that impact me with what you say, or things that I feel that the people on LinkedIn or YouTube or on our podcast would enjoy. I'm kind of splicing that up in what's called, I guess, a drip. So I am kind of dripping out some of the content that we have and that I'm having with other people. So I'm putting out, instead of just a post of, here's our podcast, I am dripping out more content. And that's just, I guess, to spread the message, have people that may not listen to a full hour of us. I understand that happens. I'd love to have the analytics on that, but to pick out those pieces that I think are valuable, so people do get kind of little nuggets of what we're talking about. So, but I will. So we're putting out so much content.
Two things there. I absolutely love that. That is actually a direction that I'm going with my content is cutting it up. And two things specifically. Number one, I appreciate that you use the word splice, because I used the word splice the other day and my son looked at me like, what in the world are you talking about? So, and then I did catch the little edit of your friend that you were trying to catch.
Oh, did you see that?
that was unbelievable.
That freaked me out. And it took me, now here's the thing. I don't know what mouse it was. So I saw a mouse, and then 7 to 10 days later caught a mouse, but I'm not sure I caught that mouse.
The mouse.
So, but I did end up catching one. And unfortunately, for the first time, I caught a mouse upstairs. So actually, I think Tyler, my youngest son, who's 8, saw him upstairs, and so anyway, we ended up catching him, which was kind of fun. So, let me ask this before we get going. I know we both. You're an early morning riser. I am. I was up at 4:15 this morning, and taking notes and made some big changes just with my morning routine, and really trying to, I guess, enhance or fine tune or change the dials on how I start my days. That bookend of my day. I'm very poor at ending my day. That bookend. I'm horrible at. But I know that you start your day early, and I think I know how you start your day. I don't know exactly how you start it, but you held up last week. Some people reached out to me about you and your notes and your journal and your note taking and things like that. So I guess I'm asking this. Is that a morning routine you do every day? Like you wake up every day, you get plugged in with something and start taking notes, writing things down. How does that start?
Yeah. So I call it, I've gone through a couple different things. I used to call it my power hour. Then I went through a phase where I was calling it my warrior wake up. And now I'm just calling it wake up and win. Just that simple. Just wake up and win. And so usually what I do is my alarm is set for 4:31. I love the number 8. And so as often as possible, I'll just do things in, the things that either add up to 8 or something like that. So 4:31 along with 31 is my jersey number. So my alarm is set for 4:31. I'm usually up and out to the gym. I'm usually at the gym by 5. So the first thing I do is get up and get ready for the gym. And then after I come back from the gym is when I start my journaling part of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really consistent of four major parts. And so the first part is just a gratitude statement, something that I'm grateful for, and sometimes most times I can just reach for it. I am grateful for this, and I can do it internally. And sometimes, George, admittedly, it's a stretch. It's a stretch, and so what I'll do is I will literally go on the internet and type in gratitude affirmations and find something there to spark a thought of mine.
Hmm.
And I don't feel ashamed about that at all.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause, and then also it's something that I do with the boys. So you're talking about ending your day. So it's something I do with the boys, especially when they're here, and I do my best to do it even when they're not here with me. Is part of our prayers, our nightly prayers are, what are you grateful for? And you can our boys are the same age, so you can only
Mm-hmm.
imagine what an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old
Right.
are grateful for. So sometimes it's, I'm grateful for electricity because I know not everybody has electricity, and sometimes it's, I'm grateful for Lucky Charms. But it gets them into the point where they start to understand gratitude. So gratitude is the first part of my journal. The second part of my journal is what I like to just call an I am affirmation. So it is my I am. It is I am, this. So yesterday was I am dynamite. And then I'll write a little statement. So yesterday, I am dynamite. My world is absolutely perfect in every way. Everything has its beauty, but not everyone sees it. And it's just, just a little statement, just a little reminder. And the thing that I've researched and read and heard about I am statements, like, you have to say it like, even if it's something that you're not great at or something that you want to, get better at, you still say it as an I am, not an I will or I want to be, because if you say I am, that means,
Mm-hmm.
it's the now. Um, and then the third part is I it is funny because I've been calling it a prayer, but I'm thinking about changing it to the word connection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I was raised Christian. I was raised, as a Jesus follower, and I'm not going to, get into that, knowing that people have different things. But George, man, if there's one thing that I've learned in my travels, man has made religion.
Mm-hmm.
And when you break down the core principles of any religion,
Right.
they all boil down to the same thing: love yourself, love other people, peace, you know, and that's what it is. It doesn't matter whether it's Hinduism, it doesn't matter whether it's Buddhism, it doesn't matter whether it's Christianity, Islam, like all the core of all those religions are peace, love for self, for others, like that's what it is. And so, um,
Hmm.
yeah, so mine happens to have a Christian, kind of attention, but yeah, so I'm just, that was just a side note. So but it's a spiritual section. I saw something that was really awesome the other day where it broke down spirituality, the word of spirituality, and it said, really it's connection to self, connection to others, connection to the earth. And obviously the earth being the universe, and that
Mm-hmm.
space. So that's the third part. And the fourth part is my one up. My one up is my daily 1%, how I'm going to go at targeting getting better 1% each day. And
So
being
that's the how.
clear.
So when you say, did you use the word how? So you spend time with your how you're going to improve 1% for that day.
Yep. And so again, it is inspired by a video or something motivational, and then I take that and I'm gonna say, okay, that's how I'm going to do it. So for you, how we do it may be a little bit different, but for you, it would be, um, watching a Gary Vee video or watching an Ed Milet video and taking something that they say in that video and saying that's the part that I'm going to attack today.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so again, yesterday, no coincidence. Yesterday a Gary Vee video, and I titled it "Love the Climb." Love, you know.
We're watching all the same stuff on the
Yeah,
same page, man.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so I took that video. I watched him talk, and I just took notes on it, and that was my focus for today. It just plays into it. And George, man, this is the thing that I'm finding out, bro. Is all of these people, they say exactly
Right.
the same thing. They just say it in different ways. Andy Frisella and Gary Vee, they curse. You know, Eric Thomas and Inky Johnson, they don't curse. It doesn't matter, but they're all saying the same thing. And the last thing I wrote down for my one up yesterday is the process is the reward. Like the journey is what I strive for. That like people get so caught up with the prize, or the end result or the destination. Just this morning, I took some notes and was like, you know, money and fame are like gas, but purpose is the vehicle. And like, so money and fame are nothing without purpose. Money is only valuable if it's driven by purpose. So you can't just you can't just have gas and think you're gonna get somewhere. The gas fuels the vehicle. But when you're talking purpose, purpose is the vehicle and money is the gas. So and then those are the things, those are the four things that I do at the start of the day, and then I'll finish up either at the last part of the day or the first part of the next morning with a section that I call significance, which is just me consciously thinking about how that day was significant, whether it was time spent with somebody or people, or you know, it basically is just kind of a recourse of the day, what happened that day, and then not just, you know, I talked to George today. It's, you know, basically it's the bookend, to use your term, it's the bookend of gratitude. So a lot of my significant sections, I'll start that off as well with I am grateful for. So, you know, I know I don't know exactly which day it is, and I don't want to spend time looking, but I know. When did we talk last? Did we talk last Thursday?
Yeah. I'm not sure either.
What's today's date? Today.
No, we talked last Thursday. Yes, we talked on the 3rd.
So
we could go today
for the 3rd. Oh no, because that was when I went to SEMO. But I know there's one. I know there's one of them in here when I said, you know, I'm grateful for George. I'm grateful for George. The friendship that we have, the opportunities that your platform provides me, and you know, I'll just go over that. So gratitude, affirmations, connection, which is the spiritual section, one up, and then I'll finish the day with basically gratitude again that I call significance. How was that day significant?
Yeah. So all these books, and I really appreciate the you know, the comment about everybody's kind of saying the same stuff, you know, and they really are. All the stuff that we're kind of reading and listening to, we've heard, and it's great just to hear different stories, different phrases from different people with from different backgrounds and cultures and all that. Like I really appreciate all that. But one of many things that they all seem to say is this morning, how you start your mornings.
Absolutely.
And I do know that people that listen to this, or people that may not believe in any of it, and I could be one of those, right? But I just know that that my day is just framed so much better by how it starts. I listened to an Ed Milet video yesterday, and he was talking about how that first 30 minutes is the most important 30 minutes of his day, 30 to 45 minutes. What he does, how he sets his day up, how he rolls out of bed and frames his mind, and stays away from this device, you know, the phone, for the first, you know, hour or so, and doesn't even have it in his room anymore, things like that. So, and I have reshaped my morning in the past, what is today, the past 10 days. But is along the lines of what you do. I have more not more, but I start my day with reading, of just waking up, getting to the gym if I don't have my boys, and then spending my first 30 minutes reading some of the books that I'm sure that you read as well. So the one thing go ahead.
But it doesn't matter. That's the thing. Like, and I feel like that's why I'm so intrigued with coaching people through the how, and the how is not the etched in stone, this is the how to do it. The how is, how do I individually?
Mm-hmm.
It's not, it's like, I don't want your morning routine to be just like my morning routine. I want your morning routine to be the morning routine that gets you going. My morning routine might not get you going.
Right.
And right along those same lines is, you know, there's this whole debate of, you know, waking up early or waking up. I don't care when you wake up. I don't care. You can wake up at 10:30 if you want to. Wake up. It's not when you wake up. It's what's your productivity during the time that you're up. Like if you, cause you know, for me to wake up at 4:30, I would love to be in bed by 10:30, 11 o'clock. That's not always the case. But, you know, who says that the person that doesn't go to sleep until 3 o'clock, why am I more productive than them because I wake up at the time that they go to sleep? I could care less what you do or when you do it. Like I just want you to be productive. I'll show you this. I don't know if I can flip. Can I flip? Yeah. So it's actually written.
Oh wow.
So
gotcha.
So yeah. So, you know, and it's just a visual. It's just a visual. So that's my little whiteboard. So my 4:30 to 6 is wake up and win. That's my gym time. And then the thing that's really been most productive for me is those shutdown blocks. So 90-minute blocks, 7:30 to 9. I'm sorry, 9 to 10:30, noon to 1:30, and then 1:30 to 3. Those 90 minutes, you know, I shut down everything.
What do you mean by that? Because I like that. I have an idea of what that means, what that would mean to me. What's that mean?
Phone is on Do Not Disturb, in another room, and whatever I choose. So what I do is I will dedicate and I will say this 90 minutes is going to be for PGC, or this 90 minutes is going to be reading, or this 90 minutes is going to be curating the content that I'm developing. Like, so whatever the focus is, it's 90 minutes of dedicated focus. And so if I have 3 creative blocks, I call them, if I have 3 creative blocks of 90 minutes, we're talking 4.5 hours, but 4.5 of dedicated, productive work time. Why? Who came up with the fact that we have to work from 9 to 5 every day?
Right.
You know, like why? Like no, and that's why most people. I can't remember who I heard say this, and maybe then Gary Vee, but that's why most people who go to work spend 2.5 hours at a time scrolling on Facebook or doing something that's not relevant to their work. But I know who it was. It was Tim Ferriss. It was Tim Ferriss in the 4-Hour Work Week. And he was telling his story about, you know, I go in and his first job was at an ice cream parlor, and he would go in and knock his work out, and his boss would roll in and he would be in the back practicing his jujitsu moves. It's like, well, what are you doing? He's like, well, I got my work done. Why do I need to keep standing there if I've already got my work done? But it's that concentrated time. And so those shutdown blocks have been absolutely, oh man.
How long have you done that?
Not long, probably, I don't know, probably midway through last year.
Yeah. Well, let me, I was thinking about this 10 minutes ago when you started going through your daily rituals or your habits. Yeah, I'm gonna, I get, uplift you, I guess, right here on how you've impacted me. So I've always kind of been like this, not exactly like you, but I've been, kind of rituals and writing things down and journaling, whatever you want to say, reading books, taking notes, watching videos, podcasts, and just kind of taking this stuff down, goal setting. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be this. And, gratitude and writing down what I'm thankful for and writing down the 3 miracles that happened yesterday that we talked about a week or so ago, like all that stuff. But I'm going to be flat out honest with you. I have been embarrassed and ashamed of those things. So in this manner, that if somebody were to come across my notebook I'd be embarrassed and ashamed and kind of say, oh, that's just something I do. And it's, and almost apologetic for it, right? Up until I met you, right? That is because I don't think you apologize or are embarrassed in any way, shape, or form for the things you're passionate about, the way you're trying to improve yourself, the things you do on a daily basis. Like I have never got that from you, right? And I think what stood out, and I'm not going to get this story right, but when you and I worked together, you asked everybody that worked for you to write what they were going to do that year or what they were going to be in 5 years. It was something along those lines. And you shared yours, like who you were, what you stood for, was something along those lines. You shared yours with the group, I think via text message, and asked each one of us to do it, right? And I was like, I have that. I've done that. But I'm not sharing that. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to share it, right? And that really hit me where I was like, man, he just doesn't care. Like he knows who he is, what his game is, what he's passionate about, and where he's going. And I'm not. And I've got to get over it, right? I just got to do what I want to do. And if people stumble across certain things that I'm passionate about or into, then, go ahead, laugh at me, make fun of me. It doesn't matter, right?
First off, thank you. What you're referring to is a PGC-driven entity, I guess. And within PGC, we call it our commitment statement.
A commitment statement.
Commitment statement, and it's simply a statement that declares who I am. But in that, there's three main components. There's what we call strengths, things that you're already good at. There's stretches, things that you're not good at, but you aim to be good at. So it's not this perfect declaration of this is who I am right now. It is again speaking in affirmations of this is, even though this is something that I want to get better at. This is I'm still speaking it as if it's happening now. And that is the third part, is just speaking in I am statements. So strengths, stretches, and speaking in I am statements, not I will be statements or I hope to be statements. I literally just redid mine the other day. And I have just as I guess the story that you just told, if you have 90 seconds, I will read it to you. But it is within, again, this is the PGC thing. So within PGC, different people do them different ways. Like some people specifically have it catered towards PGC. When I show up at PGC, this is who I'm going to show up as. This is what I'm going to do. This is how you can expect me to behave. One of my fellow directors, he said that he has three different ones. He has one that for a PGC, he has one that he wants to have as a father, and he has one that he wants to just have as a person. I heard all of these different things, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to have three. I just want to have one, and whatever environment I'm in, that is who I'm going to show up. If I'm in a PGC environment, that's who I am. If I'm in a non-PGC environment, that's who I am. If I'm in a, so the environment doesn't change my commitment statement. And so, yeah, man, I can, this is cool. I appreciate you. So this is literally just the other day. Today's the 10th, so this is dated the 6th. So I think this was Sunday morning that I wrote this down. So 2019, I am a connector. I am first connected to myself, using self-awareness and self-reflection to embrace my story and authentically share it with others. My vulnerability allows me to give others the most authentic version of me. In return, others are more vulnerable to give me their most authentic self. I am honest. I commit to being a truth teller, knowing that the empathy I show to understanding their needs, challenges, and objectives is an anchor of our communication. My connection and relationship serves as the bridge that can bear the weight of the truth. I am a lover. I am committed to the well-being of others. I intentionally choose to serve and surrender and sacrifice to enhance all environments I find myself in. I love and lead with faith over fear. Though they both share an unknown future, faith focuses on the positive rather than the negative. My journey is guided by my three P's: purpose, people, and performance. I am excited to live my why, serve other people as we elevate our performance in all areas of our lives.
People, purpose.
Yeah,
Purpose.
well, so a order thing for me. So purpose, which is me, knowing why, people, which is the external, and then performance, which is elevating and enhancing. That's it.
Yeah. So what I like about what you said is that doesn't change based on your environment. Like this is who I am. I'm not going to be a different person at PGC. For those that don't know, Jayson's involved with an organization called, I believe that stands for Point
Guard College.
Point Guard College, and which is run all over. So it's basketball and athletic related, but really nothing is. It is basketball and athletic related, but that is not the core of why Jayson does it. It's not more than basketball, and it's life skills and things of that nature. But that is something that you do. But if you're no different there than you are here, than you are within an executive boardroom doing some training and coaching, or some of these other business trips to other businesses outside our region. Like that's who you are, right? Yeah. And I know. Listen, I know people in my life that would look at that and say, okay, well, there's a lot of fluff and that's hokey, and that is which is fine, right? Because I like what you did. I like that. And you're going to get people like me that say, man, I need to do that. I need to be that drilled down, that concentrated, and that focused, and I need to have something like that in front of me every day to remind me of not only who I am, but where I'm going and who I hope to be, right? I talked in the last podcast where I did one by myself, this Matthew McConaughey Oscar award-winning speech that he gave that I really liked. And essentially at the end of it, what he said was, I am chasing me 5 years from now. Like this is who I see myself being at 50, and every day I'm waking up chasing that person. That is who I want to. That's who I want to be. So your commitment statement is who you are, because I do believe that is who you are. Probably sprinkled in there with who you hope to be or who you challenge yourself to be.
Absolutely.
Right. So I do think there's people though that listen to this. My only encouragement to people listening that may not put pen to paper, and may not write that down or be that detailed or that deep or that introspective about themselves. I understand that. I'd say most of you are not going to do that. I would just encourage you to do two things. One is this is me. This is me thinking, because I may not put a pen to paper or be that deep with it. But for me, continuing to be self-aware of who I am. To use a basketball phrase I've used before from Coach Majerus, know who you are and what your game is. But then to also circle back to, who do I want to be? Where am I going to be at 50? Right? And what characteristic traits, character issues or whatever it might be, do I need to develop to kind of be that person? Right? And that is your commitment statement, right? And the commitment statement, putting that down. Let me ask you this, as you were talking earlier. I love these conversations. Why is you naming something so important to you? What do you, when on your board that is across from you or in front of you, you have your 4:30 to 6 block, and you said you changed the name of it. Is what work to win?
Wake up and win.
Wake up and win.
Wake up and win.
And then you said that is new, and it's gone through 3 or 4 renditions from things you used to say. Why is that important to you? It's just you. Like, it's just you. Why do you care what you call it?
I feel like when you name something, that brings it to life. Otherwise, it's just there. So if when we were born, we weren't given a name, then we would just be like, we either know or we've heard of or seen movies of babies who go, that first week and don't have a name. Even though that baby doesn't understand that they don't have a name, there's something about the people who do understand that baby doesn't have a name that doesn't sit right with them.
Right.
So So naming it to me brings it to life. It brings it to the forefront. It says this is real. This is something that exists. This
Hmm.
is and what you name it, that is a you thing. Going back to religion, whether you call the supreme God or Allah or Buddha or what you name it is on you.
Hmm.
Just name it. Just name it. So
Right.
yeah, that's why naming it is so important to me. And you know how I am with names, with personal names,
Hmm.
calling people by their name, spelling people's name correctly, pronouncing it, giving it its correct pronunciation. How important that is to me. One, because I'm a person who often has his name misspelled, but like ultimately that name, that like you are George.
Hmm.
You are George. And when you're talking about people, that is the thing that there's this thing I read one time. It says like that's the most beautiful sound to an individual is their
Right.
name. And
Right.
so I lead off conversations with George. I lead off like, hey George, like I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
talking to you. And so that's the importance of naming it. I wanted to just say something really quick when you were talking
Yep.
about the couple different after I read my commitment statement.
Yep.
The two things that I would say would be, number one, for those that are listening and watching this, um, please do not compare your commitment statement to mine. It is poetry. It is and I don't say that like I'm a poet and you're not. What I mean is it like we reach. I remember I just said this yesterday on our PTC call. I remember hearing my first PGC commitment statement and thinking to myself, how the hell am I supposed to do that? Like what? What? I like that was, and this was coming from a kid who's 10 years younger than me. This was coming from a kid who hadn't had the experiences that I had, but what he had was the experience of hearing and writing commitment statements for however long he had been affiliated with PTC up to that point. So,
Mm.
so that would be the first thing. Don't compare, and start off with a couple different things. Like this is 5 years in the making for me. I've been working on this, and even what you just heard, I'll take it and I'll tweak it. I'll hear something, I'll add to it, I'll take something out. So it's a work in progress. It's not set in stone. So that would be the first thing. And the other thing would be to that group of people that you mentioned that may look at it and say, oh, that's a bunch of fluff, that's a bunch of nonsense. Oh, he's a super optimistic, unrealistic person. My response to them, very frankly, would be those are the people who live in a life of mediocrity and ordinariness, if that's a word.
Mm.
Like those are the people who are okay going to work at a job they hate, happy they get like, oh, I got a promotion at a job that I despise. Like,
Mhm.
what did that prove? And so, this. I'm preaching to the preacher right here. This because you watch high performers. You watch great, successful, significant, whatever word we want to put to it. Your life is surrounded by those people. So the simplicity of their lives.
Mhm.
And the difference between them, us, and people who think that everything that they do is garbage is their ability to be able to act on the simple things.
Mm.
Act your word.
Right. That's my
And
yep.
that's greatness. That's greatness. Greatness is simplicity mastered.
Mhm.
Damn, I never said that like
Nah, I'm writing it down. I got it for you. I got it written down.
that. That's what greatness is. Like we look at on the basketball side, we look at LeBron and we recognize him as great, but all he's done is mastered the simplicity.
Right.
Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry, he's mastered the simplicity of shooting.
Mm. Right. Boy, there's a lot.
Steve
We're
Jobs,
not going to
Steve
get through it.
Jobs, he
Yep.
mastered the simplicity. Like when Steve Jobs came out with all of this stuff, and when he left and came back, what did he come back with? Simplicity. And to this day, as I sit on my Apple computer, Their boxes are white boxes with the Apple symbol on this. There's not a bunch of colors and nope, here it is. Simplicity. We are going to master simplicity. And that's what greatness is. And if anybody you recognize in any industry, at any age, at any gender, whatever they do, if you recognize them as great, the one thing that I can assure you is they have found a way to master simplicity within their life. That's it. That's it.
You said something that has me thinking, and it has me thinking about the people that listen to this. Whether that be like I had lunch yesterday with the CEO of a company here in St. Louis, and he will eventually be on the podcast. And I think about like college basketball coaches that are listening to this, or people that are running banks, or people in San Francisco, and all these different people that are running these things. And when you were talking about your commitment statement, I'm sitting thinking, PGC is a company. They're a business. They have outcomes. They are, and I could get this wrong, but they're a basketball training college. They travel around to different pockets in the country, and they are getting people to subscribe or come to these camps. So you get 100 or 200 or 250 kids that come to these camps spread all over the country, and you have instructors that teach these kids, these athletes, basketball skills. And it could be for 1 day, 2 day, 2.5 days, whatever it is, right? And then everybody goes back and they work on these skills. That is my very high level of what PGC does, okay? But they probably, the good thing about it is I'm guessing they have high level instructors, right? So that is essentially what you do. And you could be writing code, you could be running an IT team, you could be selling shoes, selling cars, or, whatever it might be. And I'm sitting, and as you said that, my initial thought, and I wrote it down here, why does PGC care that their instructors have commitment statements? Why are you on a call with a bunch of people from PGC? And I don't know if it's required. I don't know if it's a subset, tribe, to use the Seth Godin term that I'm using, that I'm reading right now, this tribe within PGC, like this is who we are, this is what we're going to do. Why does PGC care that you do that? And now when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about all these executives and these companies and these people that listen to our podcast, why they should care. Why they should care if some developer sitting in a cubicle thinks about, considers, puts pen to paper, and writes down who they are now, who they will be, what they stand for, and what they are committed to. Why does PG, I guess here's my question to you. Is that something a group within PGC came up with? Maybe it's your group. Maybe it's a group you lead, and that's something you're passionate about, so everybody's going to be passionate about it and do it. Or is that company-wide? And if it's company-wide, why do they care?
It is 100% organizational. It is not a sector or a pod or a group that broke off and said, hey, let's do this. It is 100% organizational. And the answer to why is, I don't know if I'm going to frame it, but I'm going to give you some examples of why. I'm going to give you some other examples of why. Why would Southwest Airlines do that? Mm-hmm. Why would Chick-fil-A do that? Why would even Apple? Why would they do that? Because from an organizational leadership, and I'm torn around this word organizational, because one of the things that I'm thinking about is how to get rid of the org chart. You remember me saying, you don't work for me, you work with me.
Right.
I know who writes my check. I know there's an order to it, but whatever, that's another side note. Because an organization that understands that if these people are putting forward their best self, if they understand who they are as individuals, then ultimately they're going to be a better collective, a better team, and ultimately they're going to put out a better product, which means ultimately they're going to get a better result. So, like, that's what any business, any size business, any industry business, that's like, if your people are putting out a great product, then you're going to get a great result.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is. So as an organization, like, first off, it's like unbelievable organization. Like our president is top notch leader, top notch learner, top notch of delivering to us, making sure, like, he goes out and he says, hey, like, even if I wasn't in this world, one of the emails that we got towards the end of the year was, hey, go use your PGC card, our money, and go purchase this book, Contagious. Because I want you to read this book, because this book is going to elevate you as an individual. Go use our money. You go do it. Oh, by the way, it's the holidays. Here's my gift to you. Go use your PGC card and go have a meal on us. And not just any meal. Go have $100 meal on us. That's your Christmas gift. Like, what wouldn't make you want to go to work? Like that, those are the things that make people want to go to work. Those are the things that make people want to get better. Like those are like, and customer service has been something that over the course of the last 5 years, I fought Southwest for years. Like, I didn't understand the open seating. I didn't understand what was going on. And now Southwest is my preferred airline. Why? Because the customer service is second to none.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we go to Chick-fil-A?
Yep.
We will go to Chick-fil-A. We will drive past 8 McDonald's and 3 Burger Kings and 4 Wendy's to go to Chick-fil-A to pay $2, $2.50, $3 more for the same sandwich, fries, and a drink. Why? Because the service is awesome, because the people are awesome, because the product is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what it is. And when you're talking from a business standpoint, if the people that represent your organization are going to feel good about themselves as individuals, they're going to contribute to their teams. So now the collective, and now they're going, like, the customer. Yeah, the customer is important, but the customer is only important to the people that they interact with.
Right.
You know, and there's so many different stories. I've heard Simon Sinek tell stories. I've heard so many different stories of these type organizations in athletics. You know, why it's not a coincidence that Clemson is Clemson. It's not a coincidence. Every time they stick a microphone in front of Dabo's face, the first thing he says is how much he loves his kids.
Right.
And sure, that's easy to say when you win a national championship. That's easy to say, but the one thing that I know without having been there day to day is that is executed and perfectly exhibited every single day. And what does love mean? Love from a coach standpoint, this is love. Love from a coach standpoint, love from an employer standpoint, love from a parental standpoint does not mean that every day I walk in and I say, I'm giving you a pat on the back saying, hey, George, you are the most unbelievable person. No, love means that if I need to get in your ass, I'm going to get in your ass. Excuse my language. Mm-hmm. Like Tyler and Camden are like, they are two awesome young men, but sometimes love means
perfect.
I need to be an authoritative figure. I need to be show you some structure and some discipline. I need to reprimand you if I need to. That's not what love is. So yeah, man.
So let me pivot to something. Let me see. We started at what time? Okay, perfect. So we're in, man. This is what I wanted to bring up to you. And I wanted your opinion on this. And I know it is going to be, raising children focused and athletic focused, but it's not. I want it to be leadership focused, business focused, and connection focused. Your word of the year is connection. Mm-hmm. And let me phrase it this way. I'm just going to tell you a story, and then I want to frame it. I want your response to be more framed about the business leader, or the coach leader.
Yep.
But let me tell you, here's my story. I have 2 children. One's 8, one's 10. And to say we do a lot of basketball, would be mild, right? We do probably more than we should. My boys love it. I love it. It's the way we connect. We spend a lot of time. My youngest son, he gets after it. Competitive, listens, doesn't mess around a whole lot. And the phrase is he really has a really good work ethic. He gets after it. My oldest does not work nearly as hard. Likes to goof around a little bit, not as focused, is probably more talented, but it doesn't have the work ethic that I would like him to have. And it's been that way for a long time. And we were driving home from a workout last night, and I was calm. And this is exactly what I said to him. These are not my best parenting moments. So don't judge me as a parent on this. But I said, Camden, I'm done with it. I've hugged you. I've loved you. I've told you you're the best. That hasn't always worked. I have screamed at you. I have yelled at you. I have kicked basketballs down the street to try to connect with you and to try to get you to a certain level of performance, if you want to use that word. And I said, I don't know how to reach you. And I'm at a loss. I don't know how to connect with you, and I'm frustrated because I know you have it in you. I know it's in there. Yes, for those listening, yes, I know he's 10, and I know stuff will happen or it won't happen. But I kept thinking about that as leaders and as coaches and as people that are running teams and people that are running businesses. And I kept thinking about your word connect. And it's not just this connection of, hey, I'm networking, I'm meeting somebody, and I collected a business card and I'm going out to lunch. But it is that idea of people working for you and getting the most out of them and connecting with them in such a way that you inspire, motivate, and get them to reach another level. That to me is connection as well. And maybe it's not. Maybe you would have a rebuttal to that. But that is that connection. And so when I was thinking about this last night, I was like, I'm going to talk to Coach Jay tomorrow at 8 a.m. and I'm bringing this up because he's gonna help me with my son. But I really want you to frame that as, and you may circle back to my experiences with Camden, but that level of connection, that level of leadership, that level of inspiration and motivation to get people to another level. For sometimes it's just, I had lunch, like I mentioned yesterday, with a CEO, and he was talking about one gentleman that works for him that he just can't reach. He's like, the guy's been here 13, 14 years. He does what he wants to do. He doesn't want to get better. There's no personal development. There's no work ambition or ethic. And I'm done. I can't reach him, so I've moved on. Right? And I kept thinking about that with my kid. And I was like, I'm going to bring that up with Coach Jay and see what he thinks. Other than you telling me to relax on my 10-year-old. Right? Right? And you reminding me, George, he is 10. I get it. But I know that your word connection means more than collecting a business card.
Yeah. So, man, there's so much in that. So, I'm looking, which is why my eyes are over here. So, in my commitment statement, I have the phrase, and this is actually not under connection, but it's under honesty. I commit to being a truth teller, knowing that the empathy I show to understanding their needs, their challenges, and their objectives. Those 3 things.
Right.
Understanding their needs, their challenges, and their objectives is the anchor of our communication. Where those words came from is this book.
The Outward Mindset, for those that are listening and not watching on YouTube. The Outward Mindset, Seeing Beyond Ourselves by the Arbinger
Institute.
Okay.
Arbinger Institute. And I quick little plug for them. I feel like, when I'm throwing up these books, and I've just seen it in other podcasts, if you were to throw up a link where people could go and get it, like that would be, who knows what could come of that. I just thought of that right now. Probably, definitely a game-changing book for me. When I say game-changing, I mean life-changing. Definitely a life-changing book for me. Um, Written in the most simple form, the most simple context, it's really a collection of stories that they bring back together and anchor together. But that's where that came from. And in this book, they talk about an acronym. The acronym is SAM, SAM. And SAM, the S in SAM is seeing others, seeing others as who they are.
Mm-hmm.
The A is now that and when you see others, you see them for their needs, their challenges, and their objectives. So
Mm-hmm.
when you say seeing others who they are, like that's something that, oh, just see me as an individual. That sounds good, but specifically seeing them as for their needs, their challenges, and their objectives. The A is now that I see you, how do I adjust my efforts? So seeing others and now adjusting my efforts. Now that I see you for your needs, your challenges, and your
Mm-hmm.
objectives, what do I need to do to adjust? And then the M is now how do we measure that? So seeing others, adjusting efforts, and measuring what we're doing. And so now that is your business answer. And
Mm-hmm.
now I'm going, and then I'm going to go to your personal, and then I'm going to come back to how this applies to me. In listening to you tell that story about Cam, I heard you say he doesn't have the work ethic that I would like him to have. That to me is you not seeing him for his needs, his challenges, and his
Mm-hmm.
objectives. That is you trying to put your mindset into him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then when like it's just it's you said, I've hugged you, and this is a challenge for me too. So I'm definitely
Mm-hmm.
coaching through experience right here because this is a challenge for me as well. I know one or two ways. I can be a cheerleader or I can get on your ass. But I
Mm-hmm.
need you to respond to one of those. If you don't respond to one of those, then I don't
Right.
know what else to do.
Right.
Since reading this book, it's opened my eyes, and so now you said, I've hugged you, I've kicked balls down the street, I've given you both into the extreme. Have you asked him very simply, what can I do? Or what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want, Cam? And in his own 10-year-old Camden way, one because he's 10 and one because he's Camden and he's the only Camden, he's going to tell you what he wants. And you would be surprised that he may be able to, in a 10-year-old Camden way, perfectly articulate what he wants. That's going to give you an understanding of how you get through to him.
Right. Right.
Same thing with the CEO that you talked to yesterday about the guy that's been working there for 13 years. Like, and this is what we do. We take our positions of authority, our parental positions, our CEO positions, our coach positions. We take our positions of authority and we just say, here's what it is. And we think that if we ask, hey, what do you want? Hey, what are you feeling? Hey, what are you thinking? We think that that is a relinquish of power. It's not a relinquish of power. It's actually making you more powerful because you're going to get through to that person, and that person probably is going to tell you some things that's going to make him or her better, which is going to make you better.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you want? And this is the thing. And there's this TV show that I want to start watching, but I think is something that I would like to watch together. So I want to watch with my lady. It's called New Amsterdam, and it's a hospital show. But the few little trailers that I've seen or commercials that I've seen, the head of the hospital is a new head to the hospital. He comes in, and like the first thing he does is fire everybody. Like everybody he's like, who's in the cardiac department? And everybody raised their hands like, you're fired. He's like, and then the reason that you're fired is because we will no longer be a hospital that prioritizes money over people. That's why you're fired. You're not fired because you're not great at what you do. You're not fired because you're fired because we will no longer prioritize money over people. And then the next thing, and this is again all in a 2.5-minute clip. And then the next thing he asks is, for those of you that are left, how can I help? Tell me. Like, and it's not me coming in saying, like, I think about the Bulls a couple months ago. They fire Fred Hoiberg and Jim Boylan comes in and he's like, And the kids are like, and I say kids because that's what they are. And the kids are like, yeah, no. Imagine if he comes in with an outward mindset. And imagine if he comes in and he says, hey, fellas, what are your needs, your challenges? And you know who did that is the guy that came in for the Browns after they fired Hugh Jackson.
Right.
He came in and the first thing he did was say, fellas, what do you need? What do you feel? You guys are the ones out there on Sundays and Mondays and Saturdays or Thursdays or whenever you play. You guys are the ones that are out there on the field. What do you feel? What can I do to help? And that's such a challenge for most people who are in leadership positions, because again, we take that as a sacrifice or a relinquish of power. But other words that are in here, and this is the conversation that stems between us, like surrender and sacrifice, service. Man, no, when like our society says those are words of weakness. Service, sacrifice, surrender. But when you do those things, especially when you do those things in titles, in positions of leadership, you find yourself more powerful.
Well, I am in a position of leadership with my kids. I'm trying to lead them to certain things. So there's two things that I would like to instill on my kids. One, attitude and effort. Those are the two things. I want my kids to have great attitude and effort. Here is what I think about leadership. One of many things. And in the business world, in the boardroom, and in the house with your kids. I believe that everybody can be reached. I believe you can reach everybody to get more out of them, to get where a coach told me this. He said, George, God sees more in you than you see in yourself. And that's how coaches are. Coaches see more in their players, or a leader will see more in the IT guy than he sees in himself, right? And it's their job to try to get that out of them. In order to get that out of them, I believe you need to reach them. So my frustration last night boiled over because I'm sitting around going, I have no idea how to reach him. So I've tried everything.
Ultimately, who are you frustrated with?
No. Yeah. Great point. Oh yeah, I'm the leader. This is my team. Yes, my kids, right? But this is my team. And I'm sitting around with a guy that's been there 13 years that isn't passionate about his job, doesn't want to learn, doesn't want to enhance our product, doesn't want to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, shit, I can't reach this guy.
Yeah.
And it's on me, right? If I own everything that happens in my life, and I am responsible for everything, and that is what I am trying to do for the past, 16 months. I am sitting around saying I've got to figure out how to reach my son, right? Or the 13-year guy that's been here forever that is now stagnant and complacent and not passionate about what he does anymore. That's on me. How can I do it, right? But that is, to your word of the year, that is another piece, I believe, to being connected. Right? I just kind of keep circling back to this idea. My mindset on connection always seems to be, all right, I'm going to this networking event and I'm collecting cards. Right? But I think
that's not connection though, that's contact.
Right. Tell your story about that. The phone.
Yeah, I mean, it's very simply when we look, it doesn't matter what server you use, what phone you have, the section of your phone with numbers and names and emails and all of this information is called what?
Contacts.
Your contacts.
My contacts.
Yeah. So in my phone, I am literally going in and I am going to contacts. and I will go to the bottom. And in my phone, I have 1,585 contacts. I do not have 1,585 connections.
Right.
I'm at the bottom, and before I even, and you know how many Z's and Y's there are, not a lot. And before I even get to the top of the Y's, I can already look at my phone and say that person probably needs to be deleted. There's no connection with that person. And you probably don't have to scroll much further before you say, who in the hell is that? So there's a difference between contact and connection. Connection is a connection are the people who are in your text log, the last 10 or 15 people that you texted. Connection are the last 10 or 15 people that you email, with a purpose. And so, that to me is the difference between contact and connection. And so here's the deal. You said with Cam and Tyler, the things that you want to teach the boys wouldn't probably change from many other parents, especially those of us that have an athletic background and influence, attitude and effort. What if the way to connect with Cam is not by teaching him attitude and effort through basketball?
Yep, no question.
Because and obviously, and you've talked about this, we've talked about this, our boys are roughly the same age. Mine, I think, are a tad bit older. Jaylen, my 11-year-old, his coach, he just finished his first year of tryout basketball, middle school basketball. He made his 6th grade team. He wasn't playing a whole lot. And his coach has written emails to Angel, my ex-wife. His coach spoke to me at games that I've gone to. He beelined to me after the first game I went to. It's like, you've got to be Jaylen's dad. And this is in Terre Haute, where I went to school, where, very humbly, people know that's Jayson Wells.
Right.
So he beelines to me, and he's like, you got to be Jaylen's dad. He's like, that kid is unbelievable. The thing, I kept him on the team. There were kids that were better than him during tryouts, but I kept him on the team because A, he's an unbelievable young man, and B, he does things that you can't teach. Jaylen has not a whole lot of interest in getting better at basketball right now. And the thing that I tell him all the time is, look, when you are ready, this is a direct verbatim conversation. When you're ready, I will teach you everything I know. Until that point, we will just go out and have fun. Because I'm not going to wreck my brain trying to give you stuff that you don't want or you're not ready for. And you and I have had, high levels of that conversation before. I know what you want for your boys. I know what you want. And I know the difference between your boys, because your boys are very much like my boys. My 8-year-old, I could tell him something and he's on it. But it's the difference. There's a story in this book. About a dad who he's tucking in. This is a true story, and it just happens to be about basketball. He's tucking in his daughters. I think he has 3 kids. He's got 2 daughters and a son. And as he's tucking in his daughter, one of his daughters is obviously upset. She's got her back turned to him. And, he goes over, he's like, honey, what's wrong? She said, this is the story in the relationship. She says, you don't love me like you love, I don't remember the brother's name. You don't love me like you love Jake. And the dad's like, what are you talking about? Like I love you all. What do you mean? Well, you don't play with me like you play with Jake. What are you talking about, honey? Every day when you guys get home from school, we go play basketball. What do you mean? And she turns over and looks at him and says, I don't like basketball. So the point to that, the outward mindset to that is, to this dad, he's playing with his kids. He's playing with his kids all the same way. I have this outward mind. I got goosebumps. I have this outward mindset, but to her, it's not. That's not it for her. yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I know that's what we do, but that's not it for me. And so it goes back to this misunderstanding of, we can think that we're in an outward mindset, but
Mm-hmm.
we're really in our outward mindset. We're not seeing that person as an individual for
Right.
their needs, their challenges, their objectives. That,
Right.
to me, all summed up, that is your story, and that is any leadership story across the board in any industry.
Yeah.
How are
So
you
yeah.
connected? How are you connected to the people that you work with, to see them as individuals? Yeah, you might have your IT team, you might have your marketing team, you might have your sales team, but those, like, one of my dialogues is entitled "Find the I in Team." Like, for those of us in the sports world, there is no I in team. There is no I in team. Nonsense, because the team is made up of individuals. That Coach K thing, when he does this
Yep.
and holds his hands up and he says, we're more together when we're like this. Yes, but there is no fist without five fingers.
Right.
The
Yeah.
five fingers still make up the fist.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, like, each individual brings, because if I don't know who I am as an individual, and if I don't feel good with who I am as an individual, then ultimately I'm not giving my best to the team.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore the team isn't as good as we could be. Like, man, George.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know that.
I wish I was as smart as I sound. I wish I was as smart as I sound. I'm just a guy that is talking through who's been through a lot of athletic experience, and am now starting to realize that my athletic team, from leadership to players to personnel to whatever, is
Mm-hmm.
no different from any other organization, any other
Right.
team, any other relationship.
So I know that's a story of me and my, my parenting skills, I guess. But that is team, that is business, that is the connection of an organization. And when this was kind of happening, and when I reflected back last night, I did think about the business, and I thought about leadership, and I thought about connecting with this mindset of how to reach people and the frustrations leaders must have, because it was on my mind twice. It was on my mind at lunch, and it was on my mind driving home from a gym, about the importance of connecting, of reaching and inspiring for greater performance, however you want to phrase that, right? And Jayson's put that essentially in a ribbon for us, but really for me. I need to see where my child, my 10-year-old is. I need to see exactly where he's at. I need to see his needs, his challenges, his objectives, right? I need to then maybe adjust my efforts, my strategy, and really think through and this is not on a 10-year-old kid playing basketball. This is, that guy that's trying to inspire his team, saying, man, I just can't reach that guy. I can't reach that lady. I can't get more out of them. How can I get more out of them? You hired them. You hired them because they're great, because you thought they could, fill a need that you had on your team, right? So, but how can you continue to coach them, adjust the efforts, and then being able to measure that? I think that this book I've got to get, The Outward Mindset, is a book that, and we'll figure out how to not figure out. We will put that in the show notes. We'll figure out how to copy and paste, I guess, to get that. But needs, challenges, objectives, and I do want to put a ribbon on this, because I want to be, we've gone way over on a variety of subjects, which is fine. But let me just kind of wrap up some of this stuff, because I took a number of notes today, and this is kind of what I've taken from today. I want to put a ribbon on this and talk about how this is going to impact me. We started talking about morning rituals, and I do know this. The people that I have studied, the people I have read, the people I have listened to, typically that are the happiest. And I kind of put an emphasis on the happiest. They don't have to be the most successful. They don't need to be the guy in the office with the Lamborghini that has a home in Malibu. It doesn't need to be that. But the people that seem to be the happiest typically start their days by sitting down and with a time box of whatever, where they're really thinking about gratitude, what they're grateful for, and the people that are in their lives and the experiences that they have. That's just what I have learned. And I am trying to make that a priority in my mornings. That is just something I'm doing. And because I've been doing that, I have been happier. But Jayson talked about gratitude and I am statements. The books I have read, and I don't know the medical stuff to this. I'm not smart enough to understand how the brain works and all this. I do know there's a subconscious mind and a conscious mind, and that your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not. I've heard that, and I'm just believing what I have read. But that if you continue to tell yourself that I am powerful, I am a great public speaker, I am great at writing code, I am great, I'm a great dad, I am great, I'm a great friend, I'm great at connecting with people, I am great at service and thinking, like whatever it is, right? That over time, your mind will just believe that's who you are and you will act accordingly, right? I do believe that. And I believe what I have been told. But then Jayson talked about just some time in connection and prayer, and then his 1% how, and then a feeling of significance. There's so many different things we could go into, because you did talk about, religion and faith, and the faith of the faith and fear thing is something I'd like to talk about. Because the Seth Godin book Tribes talks a lot about faith and fear, and actually talks about religion. There is a religion to how Apple does business. There's a religion to how people think about Apple and how people behave and all that. There's a religion to that. But to Jayson's point, religion is kind of man-made, and we think about religion in terms of spirituality, but there's a religion to our cultures and how we kind of run things. We definitely went into the commitment statements, and what I find most impactful about the commitment statement, other than writing it and how that can impact you, what I found the most impactful to me about the commitment statement is that a company would have their employees do it, right? And if PGC is having their employees consider who they are, where they want to be, and put pen to paper and share it, and actually something you didn't talk about, and I'm going to ask for you to talk about before we log off here. Not only is PGC asking their people to write a commitment statement, to consider it, to think about it, to get deep about it and introspective about it, and then share it. The one thing I know they do, because I've heard you say this before, they want those people to be held accountable to it amongst the group. And you didn't mention that, but I know that is, you have, because this is what you've said before. When you shared that with our group, you said, whenever I am not that, I want you to tell me that.
Absolutely.
So why is that important?
I mean, because, I'm looking now to my left on my little content board, and under trust and honesty is accountability. Like, part of trust is knowing that the person or people that you're dealing with can be accountable and responsible. And those are two words that everybody recognizes the importance of them, but not everyone wants to be held to that standard. You mentioned last week, that was one of the things that I wrote down. You said, you started to change how you verbalized going after a position or a title, and started to say, I want that responsibility. And that's a huge statement, because many people don't understand the responsibilities that come with certain titles. And the same thing with accountability. So when you share, and we do it just like this. This is why I'm familiar with Zoom, is because we have our PGC calls on Zoom line. So instead of just looking at you, I'm looking at like the Hollywood squares of
Right.
all the different people that are on the line. And each week, each Wednesday at 11 o'clock for us here Central Time, I jump on this call, and the first thing we do is we celebrate each other. You have the opportunity to celebrate. Hey, George, I just want to celebrate you on your consistency of being committed to getting out a podcast every week. Nothing big, but it's letting you know that I appreciate who you are and what you're doing. And then the very next part is every week, someone is committed to reading their commitment statement and sharing it puts you in a position to where it's the ultimate. That's why I got no problem doing it, because I got no problem exposing my vulnerability. You know, and I know that that's a challenge for most people.
Right.
You know, most people, that's the issue is I don't want to. I mean, you even said it without using vulnerability, but it's like, that's kind of my. I got no issue exposing my vulnerability, because what I want you to know is I want you to know that however altogether you think I have it, I don't. And I need you to hold me accountable, not only to who I say I want to be, but more importantly, to those stretches of things that I'm not great at. I need you to hold me accountable. But when you share it, it's all of a sudden, imagine if, I read last year's commitment statement of energizing people with my enthusiasm and my experience. And I walk in 4 days in a row to the gym, and I'm walking in and I'm the Grinch. Well, because you know who I said I wanted to show up as, first day, okay, Jayson's having a bad day. Hey, you cool? Second day, this ain't right. By the fourth or fifth day, you're like, hey, Jayson, what's happening? Because this is who you said you wanted to be. And so that's that's the thing with the commitment statement is I just had this conversation with a college coach, and she's struggling getting through to her players. Ask that player what they want. This is one of the things we do at PGC. Who wants to play basketball after high school? Obviously, they all raise their hands. Okay, cool. I'll put that in my mental Rolodex. And then 2 or 3 days after not working hard, 2 or 3 days after not showing up with a great attitude, 2 or 3 days of just kind of half-assing it, you know what I'm able to do? Hey, you were the one that raised your hand and said you wanted to play in college. I'm just here to let you know that's not going to get you there.
Right.
Now I can hold you accountable to what you said you wanted.
So that's the reach.
Yeah.
That's the reach, right? It's the leader saying, this is what you want. This is what you said. But then it's that idea of how to reach them, inspire them, motivate them, and get them to that next level that they want. But you're also sitting there going, man, that ain't going to cut it. Man.
Yeah.
It ain't going to work.
Yeah. I'm just here to let you know that that's not it. Like, and
right.
if you need some guidance on what it looks like, then let's do that. But I'm here to let you know that what you said you want, your actions and your desires don't line up.
So that's a Gary Vee thing. Without like the words that come out of your mouth and the ambition that you have, you better have the action to match your ambition.
Absolutely.
Right. And so that's
what I mean. Yeah. Like it's like people are like I've never heard, as much as I've heard Gary Vee, I've never heard him say that. But that's where it just like we're all saying, because that's the simplicity of it. I think it was, I don't know. I can't remember where I heard it. Maybe it was Steve Harvey. Maybe it was T.D. Jakes. But whoever it was, the quote was, your discipline determines your destiny, not your desire.
Right.
Are you disciplined enough to do what it takes to get to your destiny? Everybody wants to. We can walk into any gym in any city in any state across this country and ask a bunch of high school kids who wants to go play in college, and they will all raise that's their desire.
Right.
What does your discipline say? Does your discipline say, I want to not only go to practice, but I want to do the extra stuff? I want to not only do the extra stuff, but I want to focus on those things that everybody else hates doing. Like that's what's going to determine it. Not like everybody wants to do great.
Right. Discipline determines your destiny, not your desire. That's what you said.
Desire. Right? Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right, Jayson, I want to honor your time because I know you're busy and you have a number of things that you need to be doing. Again, everybody that listens, real quick, do you have JaysonWells.com up and running? I know you have JW Purpose.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take you to the same thing. Matter of fact, if you can look, that would be awesome. So I think it's a Mac issue.
Oh, is it?
I think so. So if I go JaysonWells.com on my Mac, oh no. It just did it on mine. So yes, I mean it's going to take you back to the same site.
Sure.
I'm just at the point right now where I would rather plug my name. Like that's the one thing that I'm learning your name, your name, your name. So they both take you to the same website. But yes, I just typed in JaysonWells.com and it took me to the site.
Perfect. And that's Jayson with a Y.
Yes.
And we'll get into a number. I have a lot of notes. I have 2 pages of notes, and I only have 1 page per day. So I bled over to Friday already, which is fine. But listen, one of the things, a phrase that I really like, and I've used it for years now, because it does seem a little strange in the professional world, or people that aren't family or whatever it is, to sit there and say, I love you. And the phrase that I've used for years is, I appreciate you. I can't tell you, one, how much I appreciate you, Jayson, and what you do, what you stand for, and who you impact. But I appreciate you for what you do for me. I appreciate our conversations every week. It's one of those things. I actually wrote an email on a message on LinkedIn to Ed Milet, who is a big shot. I wrote him a message and was actually very happy that he responded back. But I just said, I wake up every morning, I listen to your content. It plugs me into my day and the ambitions that I have and the dreams that I have for myself and the people I work for and with. But Jayson, you do that for me as well. I mean, and Ed Milet's a big time guy. And big time guys that's a relative phrase, right? Jayson Wells, to me, is a big time guy, and very lucky to have him once a week with us. And at some point, this well runs dry, because Jayson will have, his calendar will be too full for us. And so we're gonna keep running with it as long as we can.
I don't know about that. You might be stuck with me, man.
But listen, I appreciate you. It's Thursday. I know you'll have a great week. Are you in town, or is PGC slowed down, or are you out of town this week?
Yeah. So no, there's no PGC.
It's during the season,
and
right?
so I don't go out of town unless something comes up through January. I don't go out of town again until early February, when I go to New Mexico and work with some educators out there.
Perfect. All right. If you want to track Jayson down, LinkedIn, go to the show notes. The show notes has all of Jayson's information, has all of my information, has information about our YouTube channel, how you can subscribe, things of that nature. If you go to our YouTube channel, please subscribe. We're trying to build that up. We put most of our podcasts, definitely all our podcasts with Jayson, go up there. Some of the ones that I do just by myself are just in the audio format, that I don't record them with Zoom. But please send feedback, comment. If you could also go to iTunes and subscribe, but if you could also rate and review, that helps us out as well. And any help that the people that listen to this can help us with would help us amplify the message. But with that, Jayson, I appreciate it, and have a great rest of the week.
Back at you, bro. Thank you.